Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Self-Love Show. We have an amazing guest today, and I'd just like to say I'm Trish Wright, and this is Dawn Light.
Hi.
And this is Celeste Pomegranate. She's hailing from Berlin this evening, or this morning for us. I'd like to just take a moment to share gratitude for these lovely women. We've had such a sweet interaction behind the scenes just now, and I'm still feeling into how juicy that was. So for everyone watching, Celeste's going to take us through the ways that we try to outsource love and safety and what it means to turn the gaze back to oneself and stand in your sovereignty. She will talk us through what it is to integrate and accept all parts, accept all the parts that are solid and the ones that don't feel safe or heard. Her work is about finding the places. Gosh, I'm so uncentered. Her work is about finding the places of love in your heart and letting that ripple down into the places that have been forgotten, but not only forgotten, but that they are pure love too. This is about inviting the space for remembrance rather than trying to fix or change anything. So as we continue the conversation, we'll discuss what it means to fully reparent oneself and love all the parts and cultivate a practice of radical self-love. We'll also talk about unshaming the word needy and unshaming the word needs. Let me tell you a little bit about Celeste before I just turn it over to her. Celeste is a Berlin-based 21st century priestess. She holds powerful and transformational temple spaces of full permission that allow people to be witnessed in their vulnerability and in their strength. Her turn on is to awaken people's souls and to help them remember their inherent power, love, and creativity. She vibrates a strong transmission of unapologetic and fierce love, which, yes, I can attest to. Celeste holds a leadership role in Shambhala School, a mystery school dedicated to the fire of spirit and its transmission of the cosmic purpose, will, and power at the heart of the whole evolutionary process on Earth. She is the leader of an online women's circle, which is amazing. You should definitely check this link out. A platform that is aimed to empower women in their heart and in their soul-based leadership and purpose. There's classes, there's community. It's fantastic. Definitely check that out. She studied. She studied with Winter Jade. Can you pronounce her last name? Isley. The School of Erotic Mysteries in the UK, ISTA, the International School of Temple Arts, the Wild Grace Movement, and completed the 6 weeks online temple training of Haydn Temple in New Zealand. And I'll be posting her links a little bit later. So we are talking about coming back to the heart and radical self care. Wow. You are now seeing Trish without coffee, so you all know. It's cooling. So the radical self-care as a coming back to love. And I'd love to just hear you share a little bit about what you're feeling about that, Celeste.
Yeah, thanks.
Your work there.
Yeah, I just want to take a moment and say thank you for having this space and for inviting me. I feel super, super grateful. And yeah, for me, self-care is a radical thing to do, and it's something that is beyond bubble baths and just giving yourself a nice massage. It's really just making sure that I take care of my needs and that I have my needs met, that I take care that my boundaries are being honored in a way where I can just rely on this self to be nourished and to be loved by my soul, basically. And it's important to do that because the soul just needs a really beautiful functioning and nourished vehicle. And for me, the self, this thing that I walk around with. I want to make sure that the self has its needs met. So when I talk about self-care, it's really about just being there for myself and making sure that the self has all its needs met and that it's happy, basically. And I do that by coming back to my heart, and just going always into an inquiry about my heart space and where in my heart do I feel some pain, where in my heart can I feel grief or sadness, where in my heart can I feel abandonment, or I can feel that really strongly right now. And then just making sure that that I find also this place in my heart where I don't feel that. So knowing that there's a place in my heart deeper than the abandonment, deeper than the sadness, where I feel solid. That there's a place in my heart where there's a love that has never abandoned me, that will never abandon me. And basically what I do is from that place, I invite the love to ripple through and down into these places. So it's really an inquiry and a meditation with the heart and with the different layers of the heart.
Are you just going to read some comments from your sharing? Thank you, Celeste. Love your somatic approach, slowing down and feeling. These are mentally, intellectually, spiritually, and physically fit women. I'm seeking to attain that shame self-health through these techniques and my lust for it. I have to hustle to get it. It really is about, for me, for what has helped me most in my growth and in the forwarding of my human and my spirit is accepting the fact that I am all of that. I am, as Ram Dass says, Tattvam Asi, I am that too. And I mean, I'm sure that's not his saying. I'm sure that's his guru saying. But sitting with that a lot is that I am the most sweet, kind, loving human, and I'm also capable of murder. And it's being in the acceptance that I have all of this inside of me, and not to shame or part myself out by pushing this away, but to really love this rageful, like emotional, like things that we're taught not to love. You know, that we literally part ourselves out from children, like our childhoods, because we're taught that, like, oh, you can't show anger. If you cry, you're emotional. What are all the other silly judgments? Oh, if you're not happy, then you're not a good person, or you're not doing the right things. Like there's all these like weird head trips around it, right? I think that we've all subscribed to it, not necessarily because we wanted to, but because we were taught that. And so, especially in the work with Love Coach Academy, I really sat with empathy, with my own empathy, and with empathy for others. And the cool thing about personal growth work is that whatever you do for you, you cultivate the practice so that you can show up for others. Right. So in that, it really is like, oh yeah, I have grief, and I can love myself there, and I can love you there, and I can love you there. Right. If someone can show up to you and see you in your rageful bitch, and you're like, and they're like, God, I love you here.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also this place of just like not identifying with the feelings and the emotions and these parts that we have. So rather than thinking, oh, I'm always so sad, like I'm this kind of person, or like creating an identity around the feelings makes it really hard for them to move through me. So, but if I don't identify with the feelings and with the part that has these feelings, but identify with something that is deeper than that, which could be, maybe soul, or something else. Like it can be also like, if you're not a spiritual person, like you can just identify with something that's deeper than this one particular part that you have. And from that place, you can let the love pour from this part that you know that you are, that is solid. From that place, you can just nourish basically this part that is feeling sad or that is feeling rageous or whatever. But like, it's really about not identifying with the feelings and becoming just a vessel for them to move through, basically. And for them to move through, we have to make sure that the container is solid. Like the container is right where, like, for them to relax and these feelings to basically just wash through. But they will not wash through if there's some contraction there or like an obstacle there. So what we can do is like, okay, what do you need to make sure that this emotion can just like wash through me?
What you say is so beautiful. I really hear you saying that it's about, when we have these beliefs that are unloved or, where we've identified as wrong or bad, right? They're not parts of ourself that are the good, right? That it's really letting go and stripping away, cleansing the lens of perception around how we see that and what we make it mean about ourself, right? Because it's a young part of ourself most likely coming back to the surface to be loved and to be met with loving essence. Because really our experience in life, we are all the same. We are loving essence. And so it's allowing the loving essence inside ourselves to expand and envelop, is how I see it. Envelop that part that just, and it's like almost as if you're a mama holding a child on your lap, like envelop that part that felt so sad or lonely or left out or abandoned, like for me, this last night and this morning, like it's so simple. What triggered me, it seems so simple, but like it really is surfacing for a reason. And I touched in with an experience this morning. I didn't get to share with you, Trish, but for me, it was like my child, I was on the phone texting with Trish actually about the morning and our show. So it was working, but he was wanting my attention so badly. He was hitting me with a pillow over and over and over again. And I said to him quietly, kindly, many times, over 10 times, please don't do that. Please don't do that. I'm working. I'll be done in a second. And he just couldn't hear me and just wanted my attention so much in that moment. And then when I got off the phone, he literally took the pillow and we were in bed, and he just like wanted to block me out. Like, oh, never mind. I don't want your attention now. And so he's like playing a game with me in a way. And I think that it triggered an old identification. I'm realizing in the morning after I prayed about it and showered and like really went in, and I laid on the bed with my hand on my heart and was just like, what is this really about? Because it's not my child. It's not his behavior. What is this for me? And I had a memory surface of my brother always picking on me as a child. And I was like, oh, I have to meet that. I have to meet that part that felt like angered and a sense of loss, a sense of no control. How do I stop this? Like, why are you continuously taunting me? Right? And so I met that place and just gave it love this morning before I got on the show, even though the energy is still there. And then I pet my child's head this morning and just said, I love you. And then came to do the show. So that's just an example of like self-care. Like I wanted to be vulnerable and share like authentically a situation, right? Because it's really identifying with a certain situation that happens where we can really wrap our minds around how do we do this?
Yeah.
Right? So thank you for letting me share.
Thanks.
Always.
Yeah, I have that coming up a lot when like in my relationship life. Just generally, this is why I get my most triggers, and I think it's such a superpower to be able to turn the gaze inwards and like instead of projecting all my pain onto the other person, basically needing the world or the other person to change so that I have my needs met. It's such a superpower that we all have, by the way, all humans have it, to just be like, okay, there's obviously something here for me, and to then go inwards and just really meet that pain and like to really create space for this. And there's also almost like a, yeah, I don't know, like a privilege to be, okay, I have the time. I can like go and sit on my bed. I don't have to go to my 9-to-5 job right now. And then I can just sit there. So like for me, like I also see that as a responsibility, because I have the space to do that. And then to really be like, okay, I'm gonna sit on my bed, no matter how many hours it takes. I'm just gonna cry. I'm just gonna go straight into that pain right now. And to do that not from a place of like, I need to suffer, but really like I want to meet you. You know, what do you have to tell me? And it's so painful, and it's so much work really to also not get lost in shame or self pity or just guilt tripping, or like not get stuck somewhere, but really like stay connected to that place where I know myself as love, having one foot in there, and then from that place, okay, like here, drink this medicine, go to the pain, drink it.
Yes. What has really helped me a lot, honestly, when I'm discovering inside, is really approaching it from a neutral observation stance in my mindset. Like, I really love the exploration of thinking of things through being a spiritual scientist. What if you were just a spiritual scientist and going within to discover what is there, right? Through neutral observation. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's not black. It's not white. It's all of me. What if I could just go in with neutral observation and really sit with what it is, and bam, the memories will come forward to remind you of the imprinting that happened and what you felt and what you made a decision about yourself in that moment. At whatever age it was, the 6-year-old or the 5-year-old or the 3-year-old, right? That's not even a logical mind thing. And that we're imprinted from that moment because it was so painful at the time, we couldn't process it. And so it's lodged in our memory and our body and our psyche for another time and space, happen to be now triggered by someone else, some other occurrence to come forward and say, poke, 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 like my child hit with the pillow, right? Poke, poke, poke. Don't forget that place.
Yeah. It's it's reminding me what you both are saying is something that, so for some of you, Dawn and I were on Saturday Night Alive this weekend with Gay and Catherine Hendricks and David Permal. It was a really powerful show, and something that I took from them, or not, they were I didn't take it, but they were giving it out for free like candy. I was like, oh yay. Anyway, they said this, and it's been sitting with me since this past weekend. Is it's the ha and the and this idea that I could make you wrong, like that's easy. Like the outward projection of making you wrong is like the easiest way to get all of my I'm right, all of that like chemistry in my body to just get off on it. But what's harder is to go who's feeling the feeling? My therapist used to say, who's feeling the feeling? Well, me, I'm feeling the feeling. So if I'm feeling the disconnect, instead of projecting it onto my partner, you're disconnected. Who's feeling the disconnect? I'm feeling the disconnect. Just saying. And I'd be like, oh, what is this teaching me now? What do I get to look at? What feeling from my past did I label this as whatever I've labeled it as? And that's something that I have been doing lately as well. That's been really helping me with my self-care is looking at what labels I've put on feelings inside of my body. They're just sensations, whether it's an emotional or a physical sensation. I've created a label on it based on something that someone else taught me to call it. So when I'm crying, here's an example: excitement and anxiety. It's the same feeling. It just depends on what outcome I want, right? For me, I'm like, I'm feeling anxious. No, I'm not actually feeling anxious. I'm excited. No, that's not. So it's the same, whatever it is that I've decided that this experience is a positive or negative, I'm calling it whether anxiety or excitement. So I've really been able to step back and look at, self-care looks like doing your work. This is the ultimate radical self-care. I'm not going to put it on Celeste when I go to see her in Berlin someday Sunday, or I'm not going to like, try, you know, show up at Dawn's and be like, you know what, my life sucks because you are in it. No, my life is, I get to look at stuff that you inspire in me. And I'm grateful that you're my sacred mirror. I'm grateful that you are inspiring these things in me, and I get to be more clear with what my wants and needs are now and what I want to participate in. Do I want to like subscribe? You know, I'm having some things come up for me that I'm starting to see a pattern that I'm cycling back into in a relationship. And I'm like, oh, it's this place that what I really want is, and not being able to share that out loud because I haven't gotten really clear with it. I haven't sat on my bed for hours and hours and hours, screamed about it, cried about it to get clear enough to move through all that chemistry just to be with what is. And I just want to pinpoint something that you both were saying is that it's not about attaching to the identity of the feeling. It's a feeling, it's a chemical reaction in your brain that's moving through your body constantly that you've named as and labeled as something. You are not it, but it is tripping something in your body of a belief and a need and a want and a value that you have. So if you can just drop down into your body and really access that and be like, hey, safety looks like whatever it could look like to you. Donuts. For me, safety looks like petting my head and telling me it's going to be okay.
Yeah, and all of that, what's really important to me also is to like not let self-care not become another thing that I have to make right, you know? Yes. Like, so even if I know how to do it in theory and like I know to not point fingers and all of that stuff, like don't let this become another thing that you have to make right. And if you don't make it right, then you suck. So basically like having space for it to not be perfect and yes. having compassion when I do point fingers. And I think it's more about the awareness that this is happening than I think, or like that's it's the first step, and it's a really tough step most of the times. But having the awareness, or like, oh, I'm doing this, and then that's already great, you know. And then if there's space, if there's energy to go further, and then be like, okay, actually, but maybe I do this instead. But if I can't do this, that's fine. But as long as I'm aware that I'm doing this, you know.
Yes.
I think that's because I see it a lot that people are trying to make it right, and it's just the same thing. Just like trying to get it right, trying to be different, trying to not be the way that I am. And so I think it's really important to not be radical in that way. Be more radical in the way that I love, but not be radical in the way that I have to get it right, and really drop any ideas about right and wrong and like the whole polarization of everything, really. Like it's not real. Yeah. So I feel having space, as you already said, having just space for the entire spectrum of everything, the rainbow.
Yeah. So the version of love that I see now, my definition has changed drastically, and I'm certain that it'll continue to change. My definition looks like acceptance of what is. Love is acceptance of what is. And yeah, it's not making it wrong. And it's also the practice of noticing. I mean, let's also just get really real. Like, I'm like, wow, the same things that I was working on 10 years ago is similar, but slightly a different angle of this. I don't know, what's the thing that has like all the sides to it?
This colorful kind of, I don't
know. Like a hadron, some aspect thing that you're like, oh, it has so many sides. I'm just looking at it from a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is this cool little jewel that I get to hold, and it's really shiny, and it has all these sides, and I get to. So really, yeah, this shiny crystal of stuff that I want to shame and blame and like part myself out is called my spiritual curriculum. Aw, can I call it something? Anyway, yeah, that right there. it's a really interesting place to just be with what it is. And the more that you can love the, I'm going to use a qualifier, an icky feeling or an icky place inside of you, the more you can show up in love for other people. That's the cool thing about self-growth work, is that you expand your capacity to be able to show up for others. So if you're shaming yourself for that insecurity around, I don't know, pick one of the zillion insecurities that people can have, and you're shaming yourself hard, and your partner shows up to you, or your friends, or your whatever, whoever it is in your life shows up to you with that same thing, not only is it going to trigger you, but you're also going to be like, and just shame them and push them aside for it, instead of being, self-sourcing your own, like, wow, I really want to love that sweet, insecure part that wants to be met, that wants to be held, that wants to be cherished for its beautiful, juicy, yummy pain.
Yeah, when you were sharing, I had this memory coming up, because I used to have a lot of rage issues. Like, for real, I used to destroy shit and like punch people in the face and stuff back in the day. And I destroyed so much of my phones, and then I just got so ashamed about this rage that I just fully suppressed it until I met my partner, who introduced me to just a different kind of communication and like to how to be with my emotions. And rage was really edgy for me, because I was like, I'm gonna hurt you, and then you're gonna leave me, and then I'm alone, blah 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 blah. And so he just held this space of like full permission. I received such a light feminine transmission from him. Like, he's my light feminine teacher. And he's just like be with my, like, just fully let me be in my rage and not take it personal. And I was like, oh, this is it. Like, I never allowed myself to be in my rage, because I always thought that like other people were taking it personal, and then that means that I'm bad in a way, that I have to be different so that they don't feel bad about my rage. But him just being there and just receiving it without taking it personal, was like, oh, it's just my rage. It has nothing to do with him. And that made it also so easy for me to own this then, like to really, oh, it's my rage, like I don't have to dump this on you. Yeah, that was
powerful. That's so powerful. What a powerful transmission you're speaking of right now.
so powerful.
And how did it feel for you to be held in that space, to be able to own the full capacity of your rage and experience it in the moment?
It was so scary, because like when you realize that you own this, and when you realize that you have responsibility, all the stories, or at least for me, the stories that I had, like, oh, it's their fault, or like there was a story of like it's their fault, or there was another story about it's all my fault, like it's the same thing, just different polarities.
Who holds that? Everybody watching, who holds that story? It's all your fault, or it's all mine.
Hi,
like both at the same time.
Oh yeah, no. Like if you have that, just say yes in the box. Like I really resonated with that. Oh no. If it's not your fault, then it's all of my fault.
Yes.
Oh, it's not us.
It's got to be somebody's fault.
Oh, fuck.
Got to be somebody's fault, right? And honestly, it's challenging to really lean back in, to really experience, God, I really do hold a lot of rage here, right? Yeah. And like really give yourself permission to feel the capacity of like, it's so challenging. And this is the place where self-care and self-love really, really expand, of like, I can love myself here.
Yes,
and it doesn't have to look perfect. And yes, I can still get angry, and I can make mistakes, mistake. I can try again. There is no wrong or right. It's like stripping away the misidentification and cleanse the lens of perception around our experience with rage. I think it's like uncomfortable to feel rage in itself. So we squash it down. We don't give ourselves space to feel it, and then occurrences come along to like finally poke at us to like let it all out at once, and yeah, it's how perfectly human of us.
Yeah. And also this moment, like I don't know how to love myself here, but I really want to. I really want to know how to love myself. Yeah. And that's like this first step is like, actually, I don't want to be in this place. Like, I know this place so well, and it's like, it's not serving me. I don't want to be here. And that is for me self-love also, to just acknowledge that this is done. I don't know how to go to the next part yet, but this is done. Like, I want to be done with this. And this is such a beautiful self-love phrase. Like, I want to be complete with this.
Yes, beautiful. I love that you are inviting that in our languaging, because it's how we speak to ourselves when we're going through an issue that is the issue.
Yes.
So I often invite my clients to say this in our work. When we come to a place where it's really challenging and it's their curriculum, I invite them to have the language inside continuously. I'm dissolving this curriculum. I'm dissolving it. I'm actively dissolving this in my life. And I do this with my own work in my life. And it's helped me evolve so much in so many places where I wasn't able to hold myself or hold for others in ways. And it's changed, it's altered my sense of reality completely. Just that specific phrase alone.
Yes. That's powerful. I'd like to speak to, I just want to say thank you for both of your sharings, like how vulnerable and how honest and real you both are in your truths and in what you're experiencing, without letting out, all the secrets of your life. Thank you. I want to speak specifically to Brandy. She says, I don't think it's hard to sit in the rage. I just wish I knew how to be done with it and get out of it. So there's a couple things that I want to say to that. Which I'll say, Dawn, Celeste, and I have tools to help you explore out and really enjoy and move through the rage. Mm-hmm. Again, in my belief, it really is, whether it's a story or whether it's a chemical reaction in your body, you're going to run those chemicals and you got to get those things out. So we have tools for you. You can reach us. We can't get into those right now because that would be a whole different show. But I've personally been exploring this idea that I've chosen that I'm like, no, I'm ready to complete this part of my curriculum. But there's a couple books that I'm reading, and then there's this idea that's sitting with, what am I getting? I'm getting off on the feeling of discomfort. Like, there's something that I'm getting out of it. Mm-hmm. And whether it's like I'm getting, I don't know, I get to get some sort of energy, or I'm certain that I kind of get off on feeling bad sometimes.
What's the payoff?
Well, the payoff, I mean, because there's like, we can get into the victim triangle whole conversation, but I think that there's something else even deeper there. And I'm reading a book called Existential Kink, which it's a sweet read. It's funny. And it's also this idea that if God is creating everything, then he is one, or it is one kinky person. I don't know why I'm taking this here. This is just like what's calling me right now. That if that's what it is, then what am I getting off on creating these things in my life? And what is it pointing to that I really want? So one of the examples is, there's a young man who didn't feel that he really got the nurturing care that he wanted in his childhood. So he keeps creating systems and situations where he shows up either living with his parents, he gets a job that doesn't quite give him the opportunity to go be an independent person. He keeps getting into relationships where, his girlfriend takes care of him and as his mom. So as I'm sitting here, and I've been like sitting with like, oh, here's that thing that's coming up, which is going to come up again and again and again. But here's that thing that's coming up. Why don't I just enjoy this weird, icky feeling about it? Like, I've chosen as a societal belief and construct that I should not like this. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna try to enjoy this right now. It feels uncomfortable, and I'm just gonna sit with it in the discomfort of my existential kink of it all, and just sit there in that space to feel like all the pain, like to really get into that emotional pain of it, and to really sit with that place and feel it all, but to also really drop into that place of, what is it that I'm seeking? What am I desperately seeking to be met? in that place. It's been a really fun practice for me in the last, month of just exploring that.
Yeah.
And to sit with the rage. I know that I can't rage. I can't hurt someone because I don't really want to do that. Guilt is not something I ever like to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
But to actually just be with the fucking rage. And I've created multiple rage rooms where I smash, and it's so good, right? And just to be like, wow, that was a safe container in which I created the space for these feelings without hurting someone. Did I rope other people into the rage room? Yes. Did we get to experience our individual rages together? Yes. Did I get to be seen and heard? Did I get to hear and see them? Was it a whole witnessing, lovely, juicy, emotional party? Yes.
Wow.
So just dropping that in.
Yeah, super inspiring. Wow.
Big rant. So that's what I mean, Brandy. There are ways to really get out of it, but it takes you going through it in a healthy container. And there's ways to create that.
Yeah, for me, whenever I feel rage, and it's still an edgy thing for me to feel, and I have such a programming around, okay, I'm just gonna be sad instead. I'm not gonna be angry, I'm just gonna be sad. And to then be able to actually, no, actually I'm angry. To also just honor the rage as my system feels some sort of boundary crossing. Maybe it's real, maybe it's happening right now, or maybe it's a remembering of my tissues, and my body is remembering a moment in my life where my boundaries were crossed, and the rage is actually helping me to reassess and reestablish these boundaries in a way, even if right now nothing is happening and it's more like some activation from the past, but also just honor the rage as something that's really sacred, and honor it as something that is like a warrior standing behind the gateway. And then, but remembering that there's also something behind the warrior. So the rage is the warrior, and it's standing there, and it's protecting. And for me, it's really how can I fully go into the rage to then transmute it and then see what vulnerability lies behind the rage. And for me, most of the times, it's something that's so tender, and something that is so scary to feel, that I'd rather be angry than feeling this tiny. So and as you said it, I think it's so important to have these containers, to create a container is and to have people around me that know about this stuff, and I can just say hey, I'm going to be here right now, and can you just hold space for me, or can you just sit over there? I'm just, if everybody on this planet knew that this is possible, the world that we will live in.
Exactly.
We're literally changing the world right now.
Yeah.
We're rippling it out. And everybody who's watching and who's doing these practices and understanding that there's a new way to live, they're rippling it out too.
And I just want to say, Amy just said, last time I felt rage, I wanted to run away. Your share is helpful, Trish. And hi, Amy. And I just wanted to say, sit with the one that wanted to run away and ask her questions. What's that about? What does she feel? What is there? Investigate it. Because that's the connecting piece.
I had this really powerful moment a couple of weeks ago where I was sitting in a coffee place, and then I got a really triggering message, and I had this urge, I need to run away. It was very clear that I was trauma activated, because it was this, the proportions were ridiculous. The message that came and my activation, it was just insane. Didn't make any sense. And then I was just sitting in this coffee place and just trying to keep on doing my stuff, and it was just shaking and trembling. And then I was you know what, I'm just going to run. So I grabbed all of my stuff, and I just allowed my body to have this experience. Even if there's no real danger, I just grabbed all of my stuff, put it in my backpack, and just started running, went out on the street and just ran for 15 minutes. And it was so good to just run away, I'm just going to run away now. I don't even know what from. I'm just going to fucking do it right now. And it was so good. It was so happy afterwards, because it was yes, I allowed myself to go there, even though it wasn't really dangerous, It was so powerful. I felt I really took care of this part that just really wanted to run away. And I didn't tell it that there's no need to run away, or there's no danger here. You know, just, yeah, let's run, you know. Oh,
So powerful.
So good.
yeah.
Mm.
Like really following the instinct, you know, like I am human and I am woman and I'm all of that, but I'm also animal, you know, like if my animal wants to run, then like I'm gonna fucking run, you know. And,
Yes.
oh, I can still feel how powerful it was for me.
I mean, it's powerful to hear and to listen.
It
about
is.
that, because then you're allowing yourself to do what you need and want to do, and you're not shaming that feeling or stuffing it. How often do you feel like okay, I'm here, I'm just gonna speak for myself, because how often do I want to run away, and then I just sit there and like, okay, try to like logic it out instead of being like, I should just run.
Mm-hmm.
And then come back to a logical place, because it's about that chemistry again, right? It's about all the thoughts and the feelings and the in your brain and your body, and just letting yourself get out all that cortisol and adrenaline.
Yes.
I'm going to incorporate this into my practice. I like that.
So that was also very intense. All of the things that we're talking about right now is pretty intense. Would you like to drop into your body, everyone?
Yes, let's do it. So I just invite everybody. We're going to do the self-empathy practice for a moment. Thank you, Trish, for the segue into it. And this is a moment just to really acknowledge yourself, right? We've been talking a lot about rage. So I invite you to just drop into your heart here and experience yourself. Take a deep, loving, centering breath. Aligning with our inner counselor, our higher self, and allowing ourselves to give empathy to ourselves right now. I want you to acknowledge what thoughts are coming forward in your mind. Just give yourself about 15 seconds to identify what's the main thought you're feeling, you're thinking and feeling. Now just notice it in one sentence. You don't have to process through all of them. Just give yourself space for one sentence. Now I invite you to drop down even deeper beneath that sentence. What are the feelings? What's there? What do you feel? Allow yourself the capacity to feel what's underneath that occurring thought. And go even deeper. What do you want? How can you honor what's there? Honor your wants and needs. What's coming forward for you? Be honest with yourself. Can other people source and take care of you in this way? Can meet these needs and wants? Or is it something that you need to meet inside? Can you meet it? What are the wants and needs there that are seeking to deeply be honored and met inside of yourself? Take a really deep, nurturing breath into that place and acknowledge yourself, acknowledge the wants, acknowledge the needs, and acknowledge that you can give yourself and meet your own needs. Self-sourcing. This is a place of self-resourcing, resourcing the love inside. Apply loving essence to this place inside that's feeling a certain way, feeling a deep need to be met, a deep want to be met. And come back home to the heart of love inside of yourself, regardless of what's going on inside, outside. The inside is what matters. How you love yourself, how you care for yourself. Take a deep centering breath into that place. Thank you.
I know, huh?
I know, I like this.
I'm getting more clear about, thank you, Dawn, for sharing the tool. I love the tool because it often brings me back into my center, and it brings me back into my wants and needs. And I'm just really sitting with, I mean, you've seen me over the last few weeks around something that I really deeply want in my life. And I'm getting even more clear about the want and the desire and the need around that, and how to ask for it from a place of my inner truth, right? And so today's practice is really based in safety. Is really based in being met. And I have deep wants there. And I don't need to make them wrong. They're just my wants based on this human being that I am. Thank you. How was that practice for you, Celeste? I don't know if you've ever done that practice before.
Yeah, I mean, I do it all the time. This is basically, this is for me, this practice would change the world, or will, like, I feel like this is the fastest way for me to come back to my parts and to just the places where I have needs. And this is like also the fastest way to unshame needs. I used to have a lot of shame around needs, and I still catch myself sometimes.
Who has that? Type it in, raise your hand. Who has shame around your needs or being quote unquote needy? Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I've had it.
Yeah, I have it too sometimes, very strong still. And then like just this practice, it's like, it's so easy because it's these steps. It's just, you just go and you go and do the steps, and they just take care of you. You don't have to actually think about anything. You just have to go and follow the steps, and then you end up with your needs, whether you want it or not. And this is so cool. Yeah.
Celeste, I'd like to invite you to share what radical self-care looks like, and how to come back to your heart, what that looks like, and how to really, if we had a couple steps, or if we had a pathway or a journey to be able to follow, what would you share with us and incorporate unshaming into that? And I'm going to spotlight you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, for me, the most radical thing I can do when I feel triggered, or when I feel lost, or when I feel in pain or sad, is to go into an inquiry about where am I outsourcing my love, and how can I find that love within myself. So it's really about taking a really deep breath and just centering my heart space, and then recognizing the place where I feel pain, where I feel the uncomfortable emotion, the uncomfortableness, the whatever I don't want to feel, and hold that place. Just hold it really close to my heart, and then see from that place if I can drop in deeper into a place that is also my heart, that is a deeper place of my heart. And the magic is there to recognize that my heart is not this one thing, but it's actually a being that has many different layers. And that the pain that I'm feeling is most likely in an outer layer. And that the love that I am, and that the love that I know myself to be, and that I sometimes forget that I am, is at the deeper layer. And so really recognizing this outer layer with all these emotions and the grief, and having that be there, not shaming it, just letting it be there, but remembering that my heart is more than that. And through that remembrance, I can drop in deeper. And from that place, I can connect to the love that I am, while holding this outer layer that feels the grief or the pain or the rage or the sadness. And then practicing to hold these two at the same time. So practicing to recognize the love that I am in the core of my heart, and practicing to recognize there's other pieces of my heart that don't remember themselves as love. And then just gently It's really like it's an embodied practice for me, gently letting this love pour through this outer layer. And that doesn't mean that anything needs to change. It's more like I'm just going to shower this place with love. And I'm not going to wait for somebody outside to do that, because I know, even when I don't really feel it, but I do know that I do have all the love in the universe. I do have that in my heart space. And I do that, well, I think the magic is really to do that when there is a moment when we need it, but to also do it in moments when we don't need it. And just having this become a regular practice, connecting to the different layers of my heart, and just letting the love from the core of my heart, letting that ripple out and through all the other layers of my heart, and having that become like a meditation every day, every morning, every evening, so that it becomes automatic in a way. Yeah. And when that happens, I can just feel, yeah, I can feel the different layers of my being. I can feel that I'm not only these parts, that I'm also something else. That I'm also soul. And the love of the soul is unconditional, and it's always available. It's right there in our heart space. And sometimes I forget, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean that it's gone. It just means that I forgot. And the more I practice this on a regular basis, the easier it becomes for me to just go there and be there, and it's like, oh, there you are. And then just, it's a very gentle, very, very sweet, yet super powerful practice. But it really requires me to want to go there. It really requires me to stop and interrupt any process where I want to find that love outside of myself. And that is, from my experience, the biggest challenge. Yeah. So catching myself every time I'm outsourcing the love, taking a breath into my heart space, feeling my outer heart layer, feeling the pain, breathing into that, dropping in deeper, and in whatever way feels authentic and true and alive in that moment, without pushing anything or shaming myself if it's not the big love, but just connecting, even if just for 1 second, even if just one drop, just connecting to this love and letting this one drop, letting that drop into the outer layer. Yeah, and that for me is radical.
Mm-hmm. It's twinkling. Mm-hmm. Wow, Celeste, that's a beautiful practice. It's an inquiry. It's a self-honoring.
Yeah. It's a very, I like it because it's simple, and I think if it's simple, then it can work. Like what you shared, like it's such a simple practice, and this is how I know it can work. And this, I think for me, it's a meditation, and I do it as much as I can, not only when I'm in crisis, because like, yeah, I wanna be here as soul on this planet. I wanna live from soul. I want this to be my status quo. I want this to be my home base. So
It is your status quo, and it is your home base.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's our status quo and our home base. Yes.
I'd love to hear a little bit from the people watching. Like, how was Celeste's practice for you? I'd also just like to reiterate something that you said, is that it's not about doing the practice in your state of trigger or trauma. It's also about doing the practice when you're in your like calm, relaxed, neutral space, or even in your happy space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The thing about the brain is that like, I mean, you've heard the studies if you study when you're high on weed or when you're drunk, that you'll recall it from that space.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the brain is a really fascinating tool and mechanism that it'll recall it, only the tool, when you're in some space that you're in. So if you're in a triggered space and you're only running this tool or these practices in those places, it's only going to recall then. So if you're starting to integrate it when you're happy, when you're neutral, when you're sad, when you're upset, and when you're running this tool, these tools and these practices in those moments, that's what starts to rewire your brain and your chemical reactions, right? Just a neurobiology, that thing right there.
And there's also this, like, I love what you said about do it also when you're happy, because the happiness, like it can even still be enhanced or like shared in a way, you know, like I'm happy, and then if I drop into this place where I know myself as love, it's like, wow, how does this love want to move through the happiness, you know, like how does this love want to move through anything really? So I really get out of the way and just let this love do its thing, and it doesn't really matter if I'm happy or sad, like it's just I'm just getting out of the way and just let the love be.
And I'd also like to just point out that happy, or these like quote unquote positive feelings, they're also pointers to wants and needs. They're also pointers to values. So if we take the judgment or the qualifying words out of it, and what I mean by a qualifier is that you're putting it on the spectrum of whether it's a positive or negative, right? So we, like, anger is bad. You know, if we stop qualifying it, that it starts to look like, oh, happiness. Like, what if we decided that happiness was wrong and we were like, oh, you can't be happy. So then we'd be sitting here doing self-work on happiness. We'd be like, oh, why am I not angry? So it'd be like this experience. So when you're running happy thoughts or these quote unquote positive thoughts, it's such a good time to look at, what is that feeling? Why did you create it that way? Why did you label it that way? And what do you want and need there? It really drops back into the place of how can you most radically accept that, and how can you also most radically accept the entirety, the wholeness of it all, right? So the practice is, if you really want to dive into the practice, this is how I'm hearing it, sorry. If you really want to dive into the practice and get into more wholeness, it's running these practices, these tools, these mechanisms at every time. Like, just, you know, like bell yourself, like give yourself reminders, like, oh, it's just time to run the practice now, whatever state I'm in. All right.
And that's like happiness, or like positive, I really try to not say, but like you all know what I mean. It's like, it's from that place, it's also much easier to connect to the deeper layers of your heart. So also to train the muscle in that moment, so that when you have to go there, when it's more challenging, you know, you can recall that I know that it's there because I've been here before. So I'm just having a hard time getting there now, but I was there, so I know that it's possible. Mm-hmm. And like for me, that's always such a soothing thing. Like, but I know that it's possible because I've done it before. So it's just hard right now, and that's already so helpful, you know. So yeah,
it is very helpful.
Yeah.
Chad was saying, I know we're really getting close, and I'm gonna wrap this up. Chad was saying there's, you know, he lives in the black and white, and you know what, I've spent so much time in living in black and white, and I think you all understand what I mean. It's like living in this dichotomy, the two separates. And what, you know, empathy, NVC, what these practices allow you to do is to live in the gray, because that's actually what life it looks like. Because there's gonna, it's yeah, I mean, we're gonna live in the gray if we don't want to have all these swings. That living here and being able to just invite in what is, like, come on, bring it to me. I can love you there. I can know that I am loving essence. I can see the loving essence, and I can accept all that is, because that is the truth. Love, in my idea of it, as acceptance of what is that. I can love you there, Celeste. I can love you there, Dawn. I can love me here, Trish.
I just want to also remind our viewers of, the first two principles in spiritual psychology are seeing the loving essence and hearing the loving essence. And if you can remind yourself to give yourself that as well, no matter what's going on, no matter what you're hearing, feeling, sensing inside, you can hear it and see it from the loving essence perspective. And you can embody your loving essence and connect to it deeply through hearing and seeing the loving essence in others, regardless of what the ego is doing, because the ego is just identifying black and white, right and wrong, good and bad. The ego identifies through polarity, but we are so much more than our ego. We're so much more than our mind. We're so much more than our emotions, our thoughts, feelings, all of it. We're consciousness evolving and expanding, shared amongst all of us, right?
Yeah, I love that you just said that, because this is also just a really beautiful practice to, like, if I have challenge with my rage, let's say, or like any other emotions, like, how do I meet that in other people? And like, so like, not only do I meet others by meeting myself, but also I can meet myself by meeting others, like if I can be more loving and accepting and understanding really about other people and their experiences, that's going to make it so much easier to find that love and compassion for myself also.
Yes.
Yeah, I really love that you got that insight. Thank you for
compassionate nature. Yes.
I'd really like to thank you both for showing up with your wisdom and your truth and your flow and your rage and your sadness and your hurt and your pain and your happiness and your joy and your glee and all of the things that make you you, which I could spend hours describing the things that I see as loving essence, hearing loving essence. If you want to hear more and see more about Celeste, please check the box. I typed it in and sent you all her links. I'd love to hear a little bit about this program that's dropping on Christmas.
Yes, I'm starting a 7 weeks priestess training for women for now. And yeah, it's a 7 weeks training into temple arts. We're going to dive deep into the different archetypes, dark masculine, dark feminine. But it's really like it's really a training to learn where we will learn, practice to listen to the dark, basically. So it's less about me and my personal growth. It's more about how can I show up in the world as a leader, and that can mean that you are starting to facilitate, or that you become a really good, I don't know, lover or whatever it is, but basically that you allow life to move through you. And like we will go into a deep journey. Like it's gonna be so juicy. Like it's like I'm so excited for this.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, so it's a 7 week deep dive, deep into soul, and deeper than that, deep into spirit also. And most of it is in the mystery. But you can find that on my Instagram if you want to follow me there, on my Facebook. I have a lot of info there.
Beautiful.
I'd also really like to plug the women's group, which I am an admin for, just to to share my own bias. I'm an admin for this group, and I do share a little bit more risque and racy posts around self-love and what it means to be self-sourcing and sovereign, and a little bit of my journey, and really just it's I curse more. And there's more nudity. It's true. But it really is to the core, and it's a really great group for women identified humans, and it's a community that offers people to really show up and teach classes and to take classes for free. So it's a really great community.
Yeah, it's a great group. I'm very grateful for this group. Like, I just love how the women are showing up. That's so powerful for me to witness that.
Yay, beautiful. Thank you for the work you're doing in the world, Celeste. It's beautiful. Keep up the juicy, delicious, expanded heart, knowing that you are. Yeah. And thank you for being on the show. I really have appreciated your energy and your contribution, and fully acknowledge you and the journey you're on to expand this knowledge into the world with other women and men. It's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to this. I feel super, super grateful. I felt so tender today, all day, and still feeling super tender. And just knowing that there are places where I can just show up with my tenderness. I don't have to pretend to be strong or like any of that. Like I can just be me and share my work and my passion. And have you both there, so inspiring. Super grateful. Yeah.
All of you is welcome here.
Yeah.
I'd like to especially thank my amazing, lovely business partner, colleague, and co-host Dawnlight. I don't know about you all. We've all been going through massive things, and this woman is just blowing me away. You work so hard, and I'm so grateful for you showing up for me and just sharing your heart all the time, and the crazy hard things that you're doing on a business level. It's fantastic. Is there anything that you want to share right now?
What I want to share right now is just Trish and I have repurposed our group Freedom of the Heart now into a new group, and you're welcome, all our women viewers that are seeking expansion with really diving into trust issues in relationships. We've now repurposed the group into this avenue. So please come on over and join. It's called Women Healing Trust Issues in Relationships on our Facebook. And I don't know if you have the link right now, Trish, but to post it in. Yeah, please feel free, dive in, join. We're going to have a lot of resources there around this topic and more topics besides this, but that's what we had to name the the avenue for now, because that's like the umbrella that it all goes under. But all the work we do will be funneled into this one group, and we'll be launching a program in the new year. We're still building it out, so I'm gonna not mention more than that, but just stay tuned. It's super juicy. It's deeply behind the scenes. I just want to say it's going to be so amazing. So I'm really falling in love with the process of creating it right now, and it's awesome. So for now, come and join the group, and we would love to have you there and share all our knowledge around what this is really about. So it's a great place to seek and understand where you withhold with the energy of trust in relationships.
And as always, I would love to share my deep gratitude for Love Coach Academy and Scott Thomas for being the inspiration, for being the muse for the show, and for the really, showing up for both Dawn and I to really present our work in the world and being a great mentor. Thank you. And I'd love to just shout out to Light Touch and all the Light Touch practitioners that I get to pray with every morning at 8:30 Pacific Standard Time. Reach out to me personally if that's what you want. And one last thing, for those of you who are single and really want something to do over the next few weeks, I'm hosting a singles mixer, and it's not about speed dating, but it's called Speed Relating, and it's going to be really fun, and it's going to be really silly, and yeah, just show up and I'll, you can find it on the Secure, Sovereign, and Single group. Thank you all so much. Enjoy your.
Bye, everybody.
See you next week.
Have an amazing week.